Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Adults, Health and Housing Cabinet Member meeting, Wednesday the 23rd of March. I am standing in for the Cabinet Member responsible, Councillor Webb, who's not available today. So we'll move straight to the agenda and take any apologies. I suppose we should record Councillor Webb's apologies.
Yep, we also have apologies for Donna Hallows. Thank you.
Thank you. Late items to be introduced by the Chair, there are none. Declarations of interest, I don't have any. There's the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of December 2021, which I've reviewed and seem to be in order. So I think we can agree those. And then it moves us straight on to item 5, a proposal to consult on the introduction of flexible tenancies. Ian.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Derby City experiences high demand and low supply, like a high number of other councils, for 4-bedroomed and larger council houses, and also council houses that have been significantly adapted. And when we say significantly adapted to accommodate the needs of a household with a disabled person, the significant adaptation we're talking about is where structural alterations have taken place or an extension has been made to the building. In the case of our 4-bedroomed and larger council houses, the average waiting time for someone waiting to get one of those homes is 612 days, and that's an average. So some individual families will be waiting in excess of 2 years to get a 4-bedroomed or larger property. And whilst we do, as a council, both buy and build 4-bedroomed house and significantly adapted homes, by far the most effective measure that we can take to address this issue is to increase the turnover of the small number of larger properties and significantly adapted properties that we do have. And this report therefore proposes that we enter a 12-week consultation period, and the consultation is on the introduction of flexible, or otherwise known as fixed-term, tenancies. The formal introduction will require a proper Cabinet meeting at the end of the consultation period, but if Cabinet is minded to introduce flexible tenancies, those properties thereafter being advertised that are 4-bed or larger or are significantly adapted will be clearly advertised as being for a fixed term period of 5 years, and so the tenants taking up those tenancies will be very clear that they're doing so on that fixed term basis. Those tenancies will then be reviewed at the end of 5 years, and if the household's circumstances have changed, perhaps the children have left home and the household is now significantly smaller, or if the household no longer needs a significantly adapted property, that property will be then released back into the general stock for those families with the absolute highest need for those properties, and the tenants that are in there will be supported into other council accommodation. And that will ensure that those families with the highest need do receive those properties in a timely manner. We did a consultation, Chair, in relation to the tenancy strategy that was adopted in 2021. We floated this idea, although it wasn't part of the firm proposals, and the result of us raising this question was that 93% of those people who responded either said that they thought the adoption of a flexible tenancy for 4-bed or larger properties was either a good idea, a very good idea, or they were undecided. It was just 7% who were opposed to that idea, and a similar percentage, Chair, for substantially adapted properties. 89% of those responded thought it was a good idea or had no opinion. Only 11% were opposed to that proposal, Chair. And that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So we've got a very clear need and requirement and waiting list for these type of premises. We introduced it in relation to properties where we were housing homeless people. Last year was that when that happened, and there's been no major repercussions in relation to that. So I guess the first thing to highlight is that it's for new tenancies. We're not going to go back over the old ones and change the tenancies in that regard. So it will be for new tenancies.
Absolutely, Chair, and we would stress that to the new tenants that they are taking on a 5-year fixed-term tenancy, Chair.
Yeah, can I just explore that 5-year fixed tenancy, because there will be occasions when the need changes before that 5 years. There's no bar to changing the tenancy or finding them different property if that need is no longer there.
This is something we will work through in more detail during the consultation, Chair, but certainly if we become aware of those changed circumstances within that period, we would look to work with that family voluntarily to move them on, and Jim will be able to tell us in a moment there is an incentive package already available to try and encourage tenants to move to a better sized property. I think we would need further legal advice, and clearly we'd take that during the consultation period, whether we could actually enforce that move before the end of the 5 years, Chair. But James may well have a comment to add, if I may, Chair.
I agree, Chair. There is a need in certain circumstances where the family makeup does change, and 5 years is a long period of time, but the 5 years gives some reassurance to that family of stability and community cohesion whilst they're there. But equally as well, that's where we'll come in with our tenancy support officers, our housing management teams, to be able to work with the family to identify if there is a change, and for us to be able to negotiate with them about a move. And as Ian alluded to there are incentives that we could introduce. We've talked about it as part of the consultation, that we have to consider that because the number of stock that we have is so limited and the pressure is so high. So we will have to have a system in place where we're able to monitor during that 5 years that the property is being maximised to its best possible use by those residents who are in there.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think I would just encourage the capacity or the facility to address that issue in the course of the tenancy. And again, if they know that at the beginning of the signing of the tenancy and there was a significant change in circumstances that they'd be looking at different ways of dealing with it, then that's only fair, isn't it? And but it also helps us to meet our needs, because I'm aware that some of the adaptations that we've had to make are not insignificant and have been expensive, and extending houses and the facilities that put in there, they're running into hundreds of thousands of pounds for an individual property, which would be not wasted but could be put to better use if that individual's circumstances no longer required it. So I'm certainly up for a consultation, 12-week consultation period, to address all those things, and then, as you say, subject to the consultation, that will come back as a full cabinet report in the future. Yeah? Okay. So there's one recommendation, that's to approve the 12-week consultation. I can agree that, and we'll see it in the not too distant future, no doubt.
Thank you, Chair.
Anything to add? In that case, that concludes the business. Thank you.